So I wanted to talk about one little element of reading skills which I thought are important and which we have lost a lot of contact with. And these things are, I feel, very important in the English language, and yet, even going back 100 years ago, they probably tended to more and more be overlooking these words. These are the littlest words that you can imagine in the English language, but they are important. They are important. And they are called articles. There are 3 articles in the English language. And you might think that it's really easy and not worth spending any time on. But I did a little bit of research on articles this week, and I found out how complex the whole subject is. In fact, I'm sure that it would be probably possible to get a PhD in articles. But I'm going to admonish you today, because we're talking about reading well, and not just reading anything well, but reading the Scriptures well. If we read the Scriptures well, we need to pay close attention to the articles that we encounter when we're reading. Admonish you to sharpen your analytical reading skills. When you read Scripture, you might read all the way through the whole Bible, but if you're not reading analytically, you're not getting very much from it. So it's a quality of reading in addition to the quantity of reading that's important. So I want to admonish you to sharpen your analytical reading skills. Scripture is what we're talking about. By paying, this is how to sharpen, paying closer attention to the use of articles in the Scriptures. I'll just give you a little bit of general information here at the start of the body. Not all languages have articles. I was somewhat unaware of that when I first went to Estonia. The Estonians do not use articles in their language. So I did a little more research. The Russians don't use articles in their language. It looks like maybe half of the languages that could be put on the map in Europe and the western part of Asia there do not use articles at all. There are 3 of them. One of them is a. We say a, that's an article. The word a. It's one letter, but it's a word. And there is a 2-letter word, which is also an article, an, an. And the third one is the, the. Now you use the word a, you use the word an, and you use the word the. They are articles, and they really give us information in many of the Scriptures that we read, which is very, very important information. Articles are determiners. They determine what follows, determine something about the things that follow. In the English language, it is normal that a common noun will be preceded by an article. It is a fast car. It's not very specific. It determines something. It is a fast car. Does it determine how many cars there are? Or is it talking about a very specific car? It's an indefinite article. And it's just another form of the indefinite article. But it's called the definite article. When I say the red dress and lacy black top on the woman, I am talking about one and only one. It is the definite, it determines definite information for us. A and do not. Let's talk a little bit about A and. They're both called indefinite articles, and they are used just depending on the noun that follows. A is used if the noun doesn't start with a vowel, and the word an is used if the word starts with a vowel. Nevertheless, the two of them accomplish the same purpose. They are determinants, and they identify the fact that we are not specifically talking about one and only one thing. They are indefinite articles. Proverbs 14, verse 12. There is a way. You see the determinant? It is not specific to one and only one. There is a way which seems right unto a man. Here comes the definite part of the scripture. The end thereof are the ways of death. So you catch the distinction there. And you see how important, just little word, we might just read right over those words which are important to us. There's an example, the example I pulled out there. There is a way. There are more. It isn't telling us there's only one way, but it is telling us there is a way among maybe a number of different ways that seems right to a man. So that's the indefinite article. Way of man is just one possibility. Definite article, we can say, is a mini conclusion. If we have an indefinite article, we must also have a definite article. And the definite article is the. It is the definite determinant. It determines something very specific. Here's an example that I pulled out of a definite article. Genesis chapter 3 and verse 24, I'm sorry. So he drove out the man. There was one and only one man then, right? And he drove the man. See, it's speaking to something very specific and definite. He placed at the east of the Garden of Eden. The Garden of Eden. There weren't multiple gardens there, but the Garden of Eden, cherubim, and a flaming sword, that's not so definite, which turned every way to keep the way of the tree of life. There is the way there. You see, a way over here. This is the way. And the comparison between the fact that there is a way which seems right and the way of what? The tree of life. One and only one tree of life. Articles are, if we pay attention to them, they give us quite a bit of information, don't we? There's a definite one. I would say this verse of Scripture, Genesis chapter 3 and 24, is broadly misread by most all of humankind. They tend to think there are many ways. You know, I remember my days growing up in the Protestant church. All roads lead to heaven. First place, the whole premise was built on something faulty, wasn't it? There was no heaven in the first place. And well, not in the sense that they were talking about it. And there was no immortal soul. and all roads lead to heaven. Well, that is in direct contradiction to the articles of this verse of Scripture. There is one and only one tree of life, and there's one and only one way to that tree of life. John 14 and verse 6. I'm going to show you what I thought of as one of the verses of Scripture that are where the use of the definite article is so very important. It is a series of things, a series of three things. John chapter 14 and verse 6. Jesus said unto him, the first two words you see here, they're also very, very important words. I am. I am, you know, the story we've gone over a few times about Christ speaking to Moses out of the burning bush. I am. Who should I say has sent them? I am. Now when he speaks here and says, I am, he's invoking that about himself, going all the way back there. It's a statement that he was the one in the burning bush. He says to him, I am what? Series of things. The way. He doesn't say there, I am a way. He says, he's saying that it's one and only one way. I am the way. And then we'll go back and pick it up as a statement, using I am again. I am the truth. The truth. There is one and only one truth, at least in that spiritual context. I am the way, I am the truth, and I am the life. So those three things, and the definite article really enhances it, doesn't it? No man comes unto the Father but by me. So the conclusion which follows, no man comes unto the Father by me, is entirely consistent with the definite article. The use of articles may well define the entire context of the Scripture.